Hello, everybody, and welcome to the best YouTube album reviewers around. So, we're happy to have you here with us. Let's have a look at today's request. So, Girl for Life 252, one of our regular contributors. Thank you very much. Let's have a look at this comment. I suggest Haven't Had Enough. The Astoria album was released after Ever After. This is the album that gave them a wider fan base. Of each album they have became more poppy. This has caused them to lose fans, but it has also allowed them to gain more fans. I wasn't going to recommend another album, but please review Phantoms by Marianas Trench. You guys will see what I mean, that their sound changes. An album some fans either love or hate. So I'm a little bit confused here now that I just read this. So the one I've got prepared is Phantoms by Marianas Trench.
Yep.
So what does this person mean? I suggest Haven't Had Enough.
I'll answer that one. So I think that was a response to my question in the video where I asked if you ever suggest a song from the last album we did of theirs, I'll put down my playlist, which I have, which was Haven't Had Enough.
Okay.
That was the one that sounded a bit like Katy Perry, I remember.
Okay.
I've been listening to it there. Yeah, so that was the one I went for in the end.
Okay, makes sense then. So yeah, Phantoms by Marianas Trench is what we're going to be going for. Let's have a look at it. So it's the fifth studio album by Marianas Trench. It was from 2019. The album saw another new style for the band, going for a more haunted and ghostly-like sound as opposed to the more fantastical sound on the previous work, Astoria. Okay, so yeah, like the comment said, it's something supposed to be quite different. Genre, according to this, is pop rock, symphonic rock. So only 10 tracks. It's 40 minutes long. So yeah, listen, I think from what I remember, I quite like Marianas Trench. From the few albums we've done of the band. So I'm not sure about this, just based on what it says here. I'm not sure if I really need to hear another. What I mean is, I kind of already like what I heard from Marianas Trench, so I'd probably kind of rather just go along that same route. Maybe like this is a bit risky. if he's gone down a completely new route that I may not like, who knows? Might like it more. Don't know. So yeah, kind of quite intrigued to see what this is going to be like. What about you?
Yeah, I was thinking, I was going to say the exact same thing as you were. I was going, well, I really liked the last stuff that they did. And if it's changed and actually people who like their stuff didn't like this newer stuff, yeah, it doesn't bode too well. But as you said, actually, because it's maybe become more poppy, more commercial, maybe might end up liking it a fair bit more. So wait and see what happens with it. But yeah, there was the exact same point about, actually liking what we've heard so far.
Well, like the saying goes, isn't it? Don't change something if it's not broken. Something like that.
Don't fix it if it ain't broke.
Don't fix it if it ain't broke.
But yeah, let's see what it brings. So at least it's not a long-winded album, which is always a big plus there, going into the unknown. And let's see, because I said I've got a couple of Marianas Trench on my playlist now, so to find another one would be an added bonus.
Okay, we'll be back with you guys in just a second, literally. Right, so we've now listened to the album. Before we get into it, I want to just ask you, what did we talk about in the introduction to this? Because I've forgotten. And I have a rough idea. We were talking about how, I know this might sound strange to everyone listening because we talked about this a few seconds ago, but for us, it's been I don't know, how long has it been?
We'll just say a bit longer than that. We'll just say that.
So I know we talked about this was supposed to be kind of different style to what he usually does, and I seem to remember I was like, not sure I'm going to like this. But why was that? What's the genre of music that it was supposed to be?
Right. It's really interesting you're asking that, because I didn't have a question planned for you, but if I did have a question, it would be that, because I think I'm very now confused of what genre we were going into. What genre was it previously? So I actually don't know. No, I think they were meant to. I always thought when we first did them, it was always more like the brackets were like Panic Disco, like that sort of punk kind of rock pop kind of thing. But I feel like since we've listened to them, it's never ever really felt like that. Um, and when we have done it, it has kind of felt a bit sort of 80s, a bit poppy, a bit maybe punky in parts, a bit rocky. But I think it's maybe had a bit of blend of lots of different things in the past. So yeah, that's my sort of long answer to I don't know the answer.
But you don't remember, because I remember we were talking about
No,
it
I
at the
remember we were
beginning,
saying. No,
or the
I remember
comment.
saying
What
they
did
were
the comment
similar,
say?
and I
What
said I can't. I can't remember.
I could. I'm
Saying
just
like
being
what
lazy. I
genre.
could just look at the.
Yeah, I can't remember what genre actually sort of fitted under since we've been listening to them, because I feel like so cause I generally thought at the time it may have been punk, but I don't feel like it's ever felt like that from what I remember. And what this new album was meant to be more like. I think we assumed it was going to be more down the poppy route, possibly, but I yeah, don't remember exactly what we decided that was going to be.
All right, I should have just looked at the comment. But anyway, let's get on with it then. First track was Eleonora. Yeah, this is like an intro. I didn't really know what to put for this. I don't know why I put this. I don't know what. Doesn't really make any sense. I just put a showman's intro. I don't know what I meant by that. It was kind of talking. It was kind of like, I don't know, a showman's intro. I don't know. It wasn't like a proper song. It was very clear lyrics, from what I remember. Um, yeah, what have you got on this one?
Yeah, so not that I'm the expert in any way, but I totally get your showman comment, and I think the official term for it is something what they called see if I can pronounce it, a cappella. So that's
Yeah,
where you're singing without any musical instruments, but you make your
yeah, it's
voices
like a
sound
cappella.
not like sound like instruments, not like beatboxing, but you kind of sing with no instruments.
Ah!
Yeah, you're kind of harmonizing and
Yeah,
all that sort of stuff there. So yeah, nice little opening from that. We might get to hear the song a little bit later on, possibly. For those who haven't listened to the album, little teaser there. Yeah, like I said, it's just a nice introduction track to open things up. Very showman-like, a cappella style. Um, yeah, it's just a nice. Yeah, it feels like a show opening theatre, ready to begin with the album.
track two, Only the Lonely Survive. Very pop so far. I was like, okay, this sounds like a bit of me. It's lively, and it was a good start to the album, I'd say.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Yeah, definitely sort of a very pop feel to it. But I will say at this point as well, it did also still feel very Marianas Trench. I think because his voice is quite distinctive, it kind of I would recognise them as that. And again, not to give too much away, I think it kind of changes a little bit as we go on. But yeah, so it's Marianas Trench feel, but sort of the pop feel to it. And yeah, again, a good sort of feel for that there, really.
The next track then was Echoes of You. Thought this sounded different in terms of style. There's a word I'm going to use quite a lot, which again probably doesn't make much sense. Feels quite edgy in
Ooh, okay.
parts, or at least trying to be. I don't know. When I say edgy, I kind of mean like a bit stylish. I don't know, kind of like a bit. I'll explain it. A few different styles within this song, and it really changed up. And I just thought by the end of it, okay, maybe there's a little bit too much going on in this song. And it was pretty epic.
Yeah, I loved a bit of epic. As soon as this song started, the first little bit, and it's probably where you've got the edgy from, but it was more like sort of felt like sort of 80s synth sort of pop there. I was like, oh yeah, hello, okay, quite like this. By the end of it, I absolutely loved this song. I'll say now I've already put it on a playlist. Um, It just had
Unbelievable.
everything, probably a bit of me in every sort of aspect, really. It was quite long, and it was a bit where sort of like it changed halfway through, and I had to check and realise obviously it wasn't a different song. And it was almost like a sort of like, you know, when we've done like cover versions, they've been like really different to the original. It felt like it was like a cover version of the song we just heard at the start of it. But yeah, I really liked it. Really liked the sort of theatrical elements to it. There was a lot going on, but I did feel it worked quite well. And yeah, enjoyed sort of all the different aspects of that there. I think they still had that sort of kind of poppy kind of feel, so it was quite catchy. And then so obviously we had sort of the changed up, which was really theatrical, which I quite enjoyed. So I'd probably say it would have been nice, even though as long as it was, maybe to go back to how the song started, just to bring it back all around again. But apart from that, yeah, and as I said, it's already on a playlist for me.
Unbelievable. Right. So I've just pressed the wrong button. 1 second. Right. Next track then. Don't Miss Me. This song seems to be lower key compared to the others. Not quite so, I don't know, intense maybe. Also has that edgy vibe to it, as I mentioned earlier. It still livens up, but not to the same extent as the previous song.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I put there. So we've got the same sort of kind of pop, like almost boy band feel. So I've put like here, like the Weeknd and JLS, which I mentioned a bit later on as well. I've also put Love Island because I feel like the song could have fitted in quite well. As I said, I don't watch Love Island, so I've only watched like one series with partner, so it's not like I'm into Love Island, but because they're very big in the music and stuff there, I felt it would have fit in quite well with that. And yes, it's started the pop thing, but previous to a different track, it had less dramatic elements to it, less theatrical thing. So it was a good song. Again, just not as, for me personally, not as good as the previous one, but it was okay.
Wish You Were Here. Same kind of style in a way. I just kind of described it as very in your face kind of music. I think kind of generally this album, or at least up to now, that's how I kind of describe it. Very in your face. I don't know. It's like quite intense, pop music with different elements to it.
Yeah, maybe this my comment here might link maybe with what you were trying to say. If I say very American, so in the term of it's just happy-go-lucky, really happy vibe. Put here Glee as well, because it's still got this pop feel, but like it's just like you can just imagine it playing it just with big smiles on their face and just a bit like something in the face and just trying to be really over the top happy with it. That's kind of what I put mostly for that one. I did find this one maybe a little bit repetitive in those regards. But I say I saw nothing wrong with it too much. But yeah, I just definitely felt the sort of Glee, happy vibe of this one.
Next up was Your Ghost. Same kind of style again, not as choppy and changey though as some of the others. You know, like some of the others are kind of changed up quite a bit. This one's fairly consistent. Feels like it's kind of on fast forward in a way. Like it's kind of singing very fast. What about you? How do you find it?
Yeah, again, did like it. This is where I kind of feel. So at the start, I would have thought, even though it has the stuff has been different to the previous stuff, kind of we've been listening to of theirs, I still could recognise it. At this point, as we get further into, I kind of forgot who we would have been listening to because I think it sort of changed up quite a bit. You know, but this is sort of the start of it. So I've kind of got the feel of like sort of Bruno Mars and Michael Jackson. It always feels like, but still like a boy band thing, but more focused where it's like a single singer with it from there. We kind of got sort of what I quite like is there's like a nice sort of slow build up, and then we get into the sort of more upbeat bit, sort of into the chorus. So and there's some nice instrumental bits I put here as well. It kind of reminds me of something, but I couldn't think at all what it was at all. When I re-listened back to it, I still couldn't quite pick it up, but it felt quite familiar there. But yeah, so I said quite good, and I quite like the sort of little bit of change to the vibe to it.
Yeah, so up to now I haven't really given my thoughts or opinions on the songs, really, in terms of, I've described them, but I haven't really said if I like them or not. So let's have a look then. So track 7 is called Glimmer. I prefer the sound of this, and I thought, okay, I hope it stays like this, because this one's a fair bit better, or actually quite a lot better, to be honest, than the previous tracks for me. It feels a lot less theatrical. I'm not really into the theatrical stuff. That's why that's why I prefer this song, and I think this was the best song so far. And the name of the song is Glimmer. A glimmer of hope for the album.
Oh, okay. Yeah, again, another song I thought was okay on here. Again, I thought I recognised the song, and this time I did put my finger on what I thought it sounded like. So I put here Jessie J's. I don't think it was called. I can't remember actually what it was called. It's just Firelights or something, or Lights, something along those lines there. So this is a bit more of a sort of slow ballad one. I can see why you probably like this. Again, you've got that sort of boy band feel, but it's that more, I would say, definitely more traditional boy band. But you can almost feel like it's a slower song, hands in the air, getting your phones out, kind of song. But again, like I said, I actually quite liked it, and I said at least it's got something a little bit different, sort of on the album. So yeah, but like I said, it kind of didn't feel like Marianas Trench we've been listened to previously on this album, or even previously in other albums.
Track 8, I Know You When, again has that edgy feel to it, not quite so in your face as some of the others, which I think I like. I don't like it kind of too much in your face. Still a lot going on though, but I'd still say it's probably better than some of the previous songs.
Yeah, again, this one did sort of sound familiar. Again, I didn't picture sort of what it actually was. But again, I've got this sort of like modern boy band, so I've again putting stuff like JLS, The Wanted. Can imagine them sort of having this song, releasing it, and doing quite well with it. Again, got this sort of different vibe than what we had from the start of the album. I like it, and I think maybe this is something maybe you might prefer more, where I sort of maybe preferred sort of the earlier stuff. But I said it's another good song. So I've listened to it and gone, oh, I hate the song, or why is this artist just again an okay, good song for me for the album.
Track 9, The Death of Me. It's got off to a slow start. But despite that, it still had that epic feel to it. I think it still fitted in with the rest of the album. It was an alright song, and the last 70 seconds were purely instrumental, but it wasn't just instrumental. It was like instrumental storytelling, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, again, like with the song I like, Echoes of You, I again had to check to see if it got into a different song, because it was just such a complete change up. And yeah, as you said, it's sort of, I put here sort of like a movie feel to it. Almost feels like it could have been like more like an interlude, which it pretty much was. It just so happens to be at the end of the song going into the next one. This one I got here sort of a Justin Timberlake kind of feel. So I said we really sort of changed up from like the stuff earlier on to now sort of getting to like sort of Justin Timberlake. But again, I thought it was a good song. We're definitely on that sort of poppy kind of feel to it there. Definitely, as you said, you know, there are different lots of elements going on. But I quite like it. I feel it does quite work. And at least we have got that sort of different stuff sort of going on.
So the last track was The Killing Kind. Now, as soon as this came on, I was like, okay, this sounds like something I know. Now, I tend not to be very good at, I think I've said this before, like remembering familiar songs. If I hear something that sounds similar, I kind of get confused by it, because I've got the song going on and I'm trying to at the same time think of what does it remind me of. And eventually it came to me, it's like, it's an Ed Sheeran song. So I wrote it down, Ed Sheeran.
Okay.
And then I went on to Google and like did an Ed Sheeran search for his songs to find the exact song. I was like, found it. So it sounded like Shape of You. Almost identical to Shape of You from the actual background music going on. I don't know if that was intentional. It sounded like it was. Then it suddenly kind of changed up, and it went to, for a few seconds, it sounded like Queen, but only for a few seconds. Then it changed again, and whatever it was definitely, to me, 100% sounded like a copy of a song. But again, this time I couldn't remember the name of it at all. something that sounded very, very familiar. Then it changed up again. It went back to Queen for a few seconds. So definitely some copying going on here with some songs. I'm telling you that. So yeah, that was the longest track as well. It was over 6 minutes, I think. So yeah, it was all right.
We tend to, there. Yes, it was almost 7 minutes of song. So I tried to pick some of the bits you said there. I would like to go back and listen to, because I didn't pick up the Ed Sheeran thing because that's such a distinctive song. So I did that because obviously I remember from the previous album when I said that the song ended up put on my playlist, the one that's saying about Katy Perry. That sounded like, to me, that was like an exact carbon copy of the Katy Perry song. So it might not surprise that they get influenced by different bands and maybe paid some credits to put it towards it. I don't know. But I really like the sort of start with the sort of the heart plucking bit, and then obviously we had the sort of pop Ed Sheeran parts, and then as you said, we had sort of Queen make an appearance with that, and then it came back in again. And then we talked about there's been lots of bits in other songs. This one really had lots of bits and lots of stuff going on. But it did feel like it kind of worked. Real big sort of theatrical sort of ending, but I do kind of like that sometimes. Obviously a bit of the orchestra bit as well. And then what I really quite liked, the best bit of it, was then the song we had at the start, the a cappella song. So sort of came in back at the end as well to sort of bring it into sort of a whole sort of one big nice sort of package from there. Because there were hints, we had things like Ghost and Phantoms. I think Phantoms mentioned the lyrics like in the album. So even though it wasn't a concept album, or I don't believe it was, I think there was sort of touches where there was probably, I wouldn't say a story going through it, but elements where it was trying to, and because all the songs did merge in together in some way, some sort of element to that. So I really did quite enjoy that part. It's kind of going into a bit of my sort of my album review.
You might as well, yeah. You might as well.
Keep going to that there. So overall, I did like this album. Like I said, obviously a song I particularly like, which I said has already been put onto the playlist. I like the variety from it. Even though there were some long songs, it didn't feel like a long album, didn't feel like an end of it. I was bored, didn't feel like there were songs I hated from it. So these are all really positive, where it should be a lot over that. But I said, so it's an album I absolutely loved and adored, but I definitely say there's nothing wrong with it as well. And as I was saying at the start, it's really strange because it feels like I'm not sure what genre they really do or are meant to fit into. And even though I said there was elements where it did feel like Marianas Trench, there was parts where I feel like there was definitely that difference of it. But I wouldn't say sides of it I preferred. I think actually I quite liked all elements of Heard of Marianas Trench. After this album, I would probably say I do like Marianas Trench. I think they're pretty good.
Okay, yeah, I didn't particularly like this album, but I think again that's probably based on previous albums we listened to of Marianas Trench, which so kind of the bar was set pretty high. And from what I remember, again, don't remember exactly what we said, but from the introduction of this, I think I remember saying this may not be my cup of tea, but it wasn't nearly as. Again, it's difficult to say because I can't remember what the hell the introduction was about. I was so lazy, I should just check it out. But yeah, but maybe it wasn't quite as bad as I was expecting. It was still pretty. For me, it sounded like pretty much typical-ish Marianas Trench from what we know. It's a little bit different, and maybe not quite to my liking. I think the reasons why I didn't like it as much, again, kind of a bit in your face, a bit too epic, just a bit too much, a bit too intense, maybe. There were a few exceptions, like I said, track 7, Glimmer, in particular, stood out for me. So, if this was a different artist who we hadn't reviewed before, but it wasn't bad. There's potential there. But because it's Marianas Trench, that's kind of why I'm thinking, by Marianas Trench's standards, a little bit disappointing for me personally. Just didn't enjoy it as much. But yeah, it was okay. It was okay. It's probably the best I could I can say for it. So I think that's it from us. Keep the requests coming, and we'll see you again soon for the next one. Take care. Goodbye.